Today we're visiting Barney Greene, who lives in the townland of Rathmooney in Lusk, North County Dublin. And he's lived here all his life, and he's had a very varied life, I'm sure. Now, Barney, let's go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
What's your first memories in life?
My first memories in life was that I started to go to school at 4.5 years of age in Hedgestown, which again is in the parish of Lusk. And we used to go from here. There was up to 10 of us altogether, all around this area. Used to go to school in Hedgestown, and we'd walk. It was roughly 3.5 miles to Hedgestown School, and we walked to school like everybody that time. There was no much cars on the road or anything. You were lucky to have a bicycle at all, or if you had a bike, it would probably be a second-hand one. And we used to walk to school, and we had very little footwear on our feet. In some cases, we had nothing on any sandals, and back and forward. And we often went up the road from the house and looked back and says, "I think I'll go home. I'm not going to spilling rain." So the mother would be standing at the gate, and she'd say, "No, you will not come back here. You're going to school. If you come back here, I'll have the switch waiting for you," which was switch. That time the switch would be called a little bit of a stick or small briar or something. So you'd be afraid of that. So you go on to school anyway. So we had a teacher there in that school. She was from Galway, and she was a Mrs. Mansfield, and she lived in Lusk, there where on the top of the town, as you come out of Lusk on the Skerries, Lusk Road, where a family by the name of Scallies bought and owned it to the present day. It was very hard times that. Just actually, I missed out there starting off. When it was roughly what? I was about between 2 and 4.5 going to school. I remember here we lived in not in the present house we're in, but there was a thatched house here out to the road here to the front inside the hedge, and there was 2 bedrooms in it and a big kitchen. And in the kitchen there was a big stand, a water stand, a big slab of stone. It was about 3 foot wide by 5 foot long, and the crocks was on that for holding the water, and a lid put over the crock. And of course the lid that time, especially in the summertime, was put over the crock was for to keep the flies off the water that they were going to drink.
Where did you get the water from?
We got the water in a pump here beside us, just up the road, which still exists here, the pump just up the road here, 100 yards behind me. And we used to have the thing over the timber over it for to keep the flies from landing on the water that you were going to put in the kettle for to make your tea, and also for dust and everything. And with the fireplace in that house, the big chimney was projecting out from the ceiling down to the floor to the grate. Actually, was about the inside of it would be about starting off at a foot, and it tapered out as it came down to the ground to about 5 foot. And there was 2 big hobs, and they were kept whitewashed.
How old was the house now? Was it?
The house at that stage, I suppose, was about nearly 100 years old. And I'm talking about now the house now. The way what I'm talking about is up to that time was, I suppose, about 105 years of age. But up in the chimney as well, up so far, there was a big lump of timber across, and that was for hanging a rope and hanging a big pot of potatoes or whatever you'd have in the pot for the dinner. And the chimney was that wide on the inside. When there'd be rain and hailstones or heavy rain like that, it'd come down the chimney, because it was a square chimney from the very top, like you see today in a lot of places, the old brick chimney. And
so you never had any problem with Santa coming?
No problem with him. He certainly never gets stuck on that anyway. That's or even myself. I hate stone. I wouldn't get stuck. But anyway, the thing was that I often, my mother says she is going to rain. And the winter time of the year, you'd have a lot of rain them years too, like now. And the door would be shut, and there'd be big sack to the door, because the door wasn't very good at the bottom. Money being scarce, the door was a bit rotten at the bottom. And when the wind would be from the west, which our door was facing the west, and she'd put a big sack of straw to the door on the inside for to keep the wind out. And then she'd be saying about it was going to rain. So I said, Mammy says, how do you know it's going to rain? Well, do you not see the hailstones hopping off the hob? The chimney was so wide, it was coming straight down through the chimney and hopping off the hob. And when it stopped raining, the cloud would disappear. And I'd look up the chimney then, and I'd say to Mammy, "Say the rain has stopped." How do you know, child? Great word, them years, child, my son. I see the stars in the sky, Mammy. So that was the gist of the old house, more or less. The old house then was I suppose I was about 18, and Trinity House across the road was being built or thereabouts, and there was a big machine there, JCB, or a big Caterpillar machine, and we had shifted Balcon at the time, and the house was here and it was beginning to cave in, so I got the machine for to level it. So we levelled it anyway, and I built my own house. That's the house we're sitting in here today. So that was the story really on the house part of it, and going to school.
What sort of fuel did you use on the fire?
The fuel that time was when we come home from school in the evening. My mother, we get our dinner. At this stage, it'd be 4:30. This would be always more or less now in the summertime of the year, and we'd be always sent for sticks, and we'd have a rope. And most of the families around would be on the same wavelength. They'd all have a bits of ropes, and we'd be sent down to a farmer's field. And the farmer didn't mind us going into the field to collect the sticks, because as long as we didn't break gaps or do any harm where sheep or cattle, which he had, wouldn't break into another farmer's land. Quite understandable. So we got a load of sticks anyway on our back, and we carried them the whole way home. And anywhere we get a bit of a wall or a bit of a high hedge on the level of ourselves, we'd put the sticks up on top of it to get a rest, because the rope was cutting through our shoulder. And we'd have a rest, so we get home with the sticks. That was the way of the firing that time. There was also turf, and Scally's and Luster Martha mentioned there had turf at the time. They used to bell turf, and I'd be sent in.
What do you mean they used to?
Belling turf means that they stacked it up. They got it in from the west of Ireland or the Midlands of Ireland, at Lone Country or Offaly or whatever. Yeah. The turf, the boglands, and farmers or people would get together, and they'd buy the lorry load between them, maybe 9 or 10 of them. Yeah. They all get so much, and they really tip in so much in here and tip in. But a lot of farm people couldn't afford that, the same as ourselves. So what we did was, I was sent in to Lusk. A little butter box. The butter box was about 2 foot wide by about 3 foot square, and I'd be sent into Lusk for a bag of turf, and I'd bring that bag of turf. It was 2 and 6pence, I think, for the bag of turf at the time. I must be talking about the 48s, 1948 or somewhere around that. That I was sending for that turf, and. It was chaotic. I remember we sent once for it, and there wasn't a bit of fire in the grate. We were frozen with the cold, and I set out, and there was a fall of snow that night, and the next morning it stopped snow, and I was sent to Lusk, and the snow, and to pull the thing through the snow, and bring it home. So that was the way of fuel at the time. A lot of people had to do that. That was the gist of it at that time for a lot of people. Along with the farmers getting the sticks and whatever, and going out in this land and doing what I'm doing. So that was the way of firing up.
It was a hard life.
It was very hard, yeah. Shocking. Get the boat. There's about the reason that I'm shedding it here is that they're all dead.
Yeah.
You know, they're dead. They're all dead, those people, you know.
Yeah.
Makes it hard.
Yeah,
I'm into it now deep. Like, I'm into it deep. Normally I'd laugh about this, you know.
Yeah.
In a pub or something. I'd love to have you in the pub now and be clapping my hands about it.
Yeah.
But it's a different situation now, you know. I'm really into it, you know.
What did you do?
I'm with it now as the day it happened, so to speak, you know what I mean? Yeah.
What did you do for fun, like, you know, just kicking the ball around or what?
Yeah, for fun here at the time was out here on the road. We played marbles.
Yeah.
Marbles. That was a little stone marble, quarter of an inch diameter, round like a little football, quarter of an inch diameter, and there was several holes, and some called it shooting tar.
Yeah.
There are different names in different counties for it. Yeah. And we're playing shooting tar like that. The marble was on the ground, and there was a hole here, and we started, there was a line there, and the hole was there, so you shot it with your thumb, you got it on your thumb like that, and you shot it as you get into the hole. And if you got it into the hole, you won a marble off the other fella.
Oh, yeah.
See, that was the way it was. You won a marble. And that's all it was about. It was a simple thing. There was no money involved.
Yeah.
And then...
that's out on this road here?
Yeah, this road here, yeah.
Didn't this road used to be the main Belfast-Dublin road?
It was years ago, it was. Unfortunately, I haven't history of it now as such, but this was the old coach road from Balloch to Balrodry.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Man of War above, the far side of the pub was the bit, that was sort of a hotel or a motel.
Yeah.
And the men on the horses that time going from Dublin with hay on the carts I remember that very well myself, but not at that time.
Yeah.
Later years, and they used to go in there and they'd stay there and they'd have a meal and have whatever, and they'd have a rest. It was sort of a halfway house, a rest house, because a lot of them would be coming nearly from Drogheda, and Stamullen, Garmanstown, going to the Dublin market in Dublin, which was Smithfield. Same as they did, which I went to myself, but that was a long time after that with lorries and everything.
So they'd stay overnight, some of them on the right.
They'd stay overnight, some of them would do, stay overnight, Morgans, and big coach house, so it's all been restored now.
Is it?
Someone bought it and they were selling it and they were going to do their own thing to it, whoever bought it, but the county council got involved and says, no, you don't do that, we want to do this, leave it. We decide what we're going to do, so it's going to start now again.
Are the county council
I think they moved in, you see,
like,
you have to leave it like the way that fireplace is, this old stone. You can't make a fancy house out of it.
You have to follow their instructions.
Exactly, This preservation thing, or whatever they call it.
Did they give a grant for that, do you know?
I don't know now about that, I'll tell you the truth, don't know about that.
Do you remember, you actually remember it as a hotel?
No.
But as a lodging house, you remember?
No, I don't remember at all. I don't remember at all as anything like that. I'm only going on information that's in the area ever since.
Yes.
That everybody knows without seeing the thing. Word of mouth.
Did you ever play up around there as a kid? What was it like? What were the buildings like? Was the roof on it?
I don't remember. That time it was, I think, galvanised stone walls and galvanised roof, and there's a lot of horse stables in it, where you could rest a horse overnight in the stable. You had to have somewhere for the horse, so that was end of a cobblestone yard. It's still there, I think, the cobblestones. That's the way they run it even that time. See, a lot of things now today that we see is a lot of old things. They're going back to that time. People are falling back now. They're not making these lot of fancy houses, and there's no point in that. A lot of people goes back for the old stone house, which we see today, which is grand, and the old thatched house.
You must have played up there as a child, did you?
I played a good bit in the Man of War on and off my time. See, my time of playing would be only about 30 years back up to about 5 years ago, you know what I mean? Playing as a group.
No, but as a child playing.
Oh, as a child.
That would have been a great place for a child to play.
Oh, yes, it would be grand, lovely,
Exploring the sheds and all the stables.
That's right,
You've done that?
Oh, yeah, I've been up in it, as a child. Used to love to get into it, but there was great restriction on those that owned it. They'd be afraid to let children in around it, because even like most, especially old people today, they're always very nervous of anything happening to anybody, a mishap. A piece of a stick falling down on a child, or if there was a wheel against a wall, that they pull the wheel down on top of themselves. They're always very conscious of that. So therefore, rather than take the wheel away or anything, they wouldn't let you into the yard. They wouldn't want you going in there. And if they got you going in there without even asking, which you would do, you'd stay alien over the gate or whatever, like you were in for a good hiding. If they didn't give you hiding, it'd be down to your parents to tell you where you're after being. So you get a hiding at home anyway, so to put you from. That was the deterrent. It's not like nowadays. I mean, it's troubles everywhere.
You were mentioning to me earlier about this large boulder you have in the middle of the front garden. Could you tell us about that now?
Well, that boulder was there when I was born.
As long as you remember.
As long as I remember, and it was there, I think, according to the grandfather, was there 100 years or maybe more in his time. So I'd be talking about now about 65 years ago, when I was talking, when he was telling me about that, if not around that time, about 65 years ago when he told me about that. So the stone can be any age, we're not too sure of what age.
Was this used as a bench like that?
That was used outside the old thatched house, between the hedge and the hall door. Was about 8 foot of an opening, and the stone was in the centre of that 8 foot, on the side of the door. So in the summertime of the year, my parents, they all, and with other neighbours and all, used to come round the house and sit on the stone. It was great to sit on this stone, because this stone was very unusual. An unusual part of the stone was, the stone is it's over a ton weight. It could be 2 ton weight, that stone out there. So this was great to sit on the stone, and there was very little papers knocking about, because you had a long ways to get to Luster Mass. Maybe you didn't go down the town of a Sunday to get a paper, and you certainly got none during the week. But that was in the Mutt and Jeff time, comics. And they were very good at library books, when they go to Lusk to do the shopping of a Friday or whatever, they go into the library in Lusk. It still is there at the moment, but it's not a library, you know, on the Greene there. And as far as I know, it's not a library, it's used for other facilities. But they go in there and they get 2 or 3 library books. And they spend the whole week out on that stone and in the house when they get dark reading the library books. But stone was for outside reading in the good weather.
I see, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the stone was for.
Was there any cinema or radios or?
There was nothing. There was nothing here.
No televisions, nothing.
No,
like
I remember like a good many more talking about the radio. We had the dry battery radio, and it was a glass battery, and they had economised on that. It was only a couple of bob, or maybe only a shilling for to get it charged, and we got them charged in Balbriggan here in this area. Larkins, Balbriggan, they had a garage at the time. They charged all the batteries more or less all around the area, and we'd be sent every once a month. The battery had run down, and when it run down, how would you know to run down? Well, the radio being turned up full volume, it'd be only like if it was turned up quarter volume. It was losing its power.
Yeah,
as we know, and this is what happened. So you couldn't hear it. So when it went that bad, well, we said we better go and get it charged. Yeah. So you were without the battery for, you could be without the battery for the whole following week until the battery was ready for you. You'd know when he'd tell you when it was going to be ready. Be ready for you in 3 or 4 days, Barney, whatever. So come down on Thursday and it'll be right. But you had nothing at all in the house, nothing to listen to.
You wouldn't just put the radio on just any old time. You'd be saving it for special.
Yes. And people next door here, which was Collinses, relations of our own. James the father and Patsy and son James, and they were great people for backing horses. And they bought, the Sunday they bought the Field. And the Field paper was a horsey paper. I don't know whether it still exists today or not.
It does, I think.
That's the one. So they get the Field, and the radio, when they come home in the evenings after work at 6 o'clock, they have their dinner, and they clean up the place, and they sit over at the table, because the radio was on the table, and they get the paper out. Patsy would get the paper out, and he'd study nothing. He'd look at no other part of the paper, only on the back page, the horses. Yeah. The horses running for the whole week. Yeah. And there was horses backed every day.
And they'd listen to the results
every day, and that's what the radio was for. The radio then, as soon as he'd be finished with listening to that, he'd switch off the radio. The radio could be on only for a quarter of an hour. And it could be on for another 10 minutes later on, but that'd be all. It'd be economising on it, you know. Because if you don't do this, well, you're going to have no bloody radio as soon as this runs down. So it's up to you, Barney, so to speak, to take it easy on it.
Yeah. No. Did you often go to the cinema in those days?
That was the only place we were allowed to go. Was I think I was 17 years of age, and I was allowed to go to, I know I was working at 14, but weren't allowed to go to pictures, because that time parents, a lot of them anyway, was very conscious of getting into a wrong company, or company that didn't suit you, maybe is the proper word, you know. And they wouldn't want you. They had you at home all those years prior to that for 16 years, so they don't want to let you cut loose now and drift away from us, you know. You're going to get ideas maybe when you go out in the crowd. So we were allowed to go to around about 17, I was allowed to go to Balbriggan to the afternoon cinema in Balbriggan, the Savoy, which is there. It's not a cinema today, it's a community thing or something. And we went to pictures there. The pictures from 3 o'clock till 5:30, and they nearly have the clock under their arm out on the road waiting on you to come home. It should only take you half an hour to get home. If you're over the half an hour coming home, where were you? What delayed you? Very strict. You didn't answer back. You answered properly. You didn't tell lies. You had to tell the truth where you were, what kept you. The bike punctured maybe. Yeah. And even that, my mother never rode a bike, but she put her thumb on the tyre to see was this bike punctured.
Yeah. What sort of films did they have on in the cinema? Is this the days they used to have a serial?
Well, I remember, I was very much into war films, and still like war film, yeah. And that time you had Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers was the man, the cowboy films that time. Yeah. And a lot of these fellas, like Roy Rogers and all these other lads that I can't think of the names of now, but it was all cowboy film and war films that time. That's what, And there was no big screen like they have today, or they have a few years back. It was an ordinary small screen. Yeah. And seats was the dearest part of it up in the back, I think, was 2 and 6pence up in the very back, and down in the middle was 1 and 8, and the 10 pennies was down at the front. And no one would go down into the 10 pennies, because I think the reason might have been, as far as it came out, was the more poorer class people, children, would be down there, and they used to call it the flea park.
Oh,
you were liable to be scratching after coming out of it or something, you know.
Yeah.
And this was what we'd all more or less try and get. Going to the last penny in our pocket, we'd have to have the 1 in 8 because we're not going down there.
Yeah.
So we want to get the 1 in 8 for this better run of people here, children here.
You went in the middle section.
Yeah, the middle section. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot of money then, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, that, yeah. We're talking while it's on my mind about footwear, and I mentioned there earlier on about shoes. We'd sandals, and in the good time of the year, money was so scarce. In the summer time of the year, you'd be allowed to go to school without any shoes on you. The road would be even warm.
Yeah.
Because half the heat of a radiator on the roads with the sun shining, boiling. The summers were so good and so hot them years. We'd go off to school with that, and the reason for that was for to save the shoes, to save the soles of the shoes.
Yeah.
That the shoes is going to last that bit longer. If we can get a month of good weather now, you should go to school for the month in your bare feet.
Yeah.
And that was the done thing. There was no one frowned on going into school if you were going in your bare feet because you were, very poor family and scandalous carry on. There was none of that. That was the accepted thing at the time.
Yeah.
That's the way it was with most families, bar people that had a few quid, and there wasn't many of them. You know.
Was there many nettles around here too?
Yeah, there was a great
your
country.
feet stung on the nettles.
I got stung many a time. I remember one time, I hadn't a whole lot of fear of nettles, but I remember coming from school one time, very close to the school. We're all coming home, and a woman in Hedgestown, Lorimer, she died recently. I was at a funeral there a couple of months ago, Mrs. Tommy Moore of Hedgestown, and she always was a great woman into turkeys. And she had up to 15 or 20 turkeys, and they were always around the road in the evenings when we were coming home. So this particular evening we were coming home anyway, and someone more smart than me says, Barney, they said that in turkeys, there's something in there, and there's big tracks made in, there's holes and everything in there in the nettles. So I said, right, I'll go in. I'm more or less afraid of Mrs. Moore than there was of the nettles. But I went in and I got a bit of a stick, and I opened up the gap to let me walk through. And in I goes into nettles, and way in the nettles along the ditch was a turkey, and she's sitting on a nest of eggs.
Oh, yeah.
And they used to lay out that time a lot and switch hens did too, of course. But somebody mentioned about me going in and disturbing the turkey. And Mrs. Moore was waiting for me the next evening coming home from school. And she had a switch that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
She had a switch, and she gave me a few letters across the leg. And she gave me a bit of a note in an envelope. And I didn't know what the note was about, so I wasn't dreaming, didn't know. No one was so brainy to think. Brought it home anyway and handed to my mother. So Mrs. Moore gave me that. She opened it and she got a switch, but she didn't hit me. She warned me severely. Mrs. Moore had wrote him in a bit of a note about me after disturbing the turkey.
Yeah.
Do you see the way it was at the time?
Yeah.
Do you know that this thing was relayed on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it was too much. Maybe this is the problem we have today. We were too much under control. You know. And when we eventually got out and cut loose, we went half mad. You know. Yeah. So